In a world of constant distraction, the ability to focus intensely has become the new superpower that separates extraordinary achievers from everyone else. If you find value in the insights shared in this video, you can purchase Cal Newport's complete book, Deep Work, through the link in our description below. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction. Between endless email notifications, social media updates, and the constant ping of messages, our attention has become increasingly fragmented. Yet paradoxically, the ability to perform deep, focused work has never been more valuable. This is the central argument of Cal Newport's groundbreaking book, Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. Newport, a computer science professor at Georgetown University, makes a compelling case that the capacity to concentrate intensely on cognitively demanding tasks, what he calls deep work, is becoming increasingly rare at the exact same time it's becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a result, those who cultivate this skill will thrive professionally. The concept of deep work isn't just another productivity hack or time management technique. It represents a fundamentally different approach to professional activity, one that recognizes the profound value of uninterrupted, focused mental effort. Newport contrasts deep work with what he calls shallow work, non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted, that don't create much new value and are easy to replicate. Consider the difference between spending an hour responding to emails and notifications versus spending that same hour in a state of uninterrupted concentration, solving a challenging problem, writing substantive content, or learning a difficult skill. The first activity keeps things moving along but creates little lasting value. The second pushes your cognitive capabilities to their limit and results in something meaningful that couldn't be easily duplicated. Newport begins by establishing why deep work is so valuable in today's economy. He identifies three groups of people who will thrive as automation and technology continue to transform our world. Those who can work well and creatively with intelligent machines, those who are the best at what they do, and those with access to capital. For the first two groups especially, the ability to master complicated information quickly and produce work at an elite level are crucial skills, both of which depend on the capacity for deep work. The book draws on examples of deep work practitioners across disciplines. We see J.K. Rowling booking a hotel room to finish writing the final Harry Potter book, away from the distractions of everyday life. We learn about the psychiatrist Carl Jung building a stone retreat in the woods where he could think deeply about his most challenging ideas. We discover how the physicist Richard Feynman maintained such extraordinary productivity throughout his career by working in long, uninterrupted stretches of intense concentration. These examples aren't just interesting anecdotes. They demonstrate a consistent pattern. Meaningful creative work requires the kind of concentration that can only happen in environments specifically designed to enable deep thinking. This is especially true for knowledge workers whose value is directly tied to their ability to learn complicated things quickly and produce at an elite level. But if deep work is so valuable, why isn't everyone doing it? Newport identifies several forces of distraction that push us toward shallow work instead. Open office plans that prioritize immediate accessibility over focused thought. The constant connectivity expectation that we should always be available via email, messaging, or social media. The misguided belief that busyness and immediate responsiveness are proxies for productivity. And the path of least resistance. It's simply easier in the moment to check email than to engage in mentally taxing deep work. Perhaps most importantly, Newport argues that deep work isn't just more productive, it's more meaningful. Drawing on psychology research and philosophical traditions, he makes the case that humans experience genuine satisfaction when they push their mental capabilities to their limits in pursuit of something difficult and worthwhile. The deep life, organized around intensive concentration on tasks that matter, is not just more productive but more fulfilling than the fragmented alternative most knowledge workers currently experience. With the value of deep work established, Newport then provides a comprehensive framework for incorporating more of it into our lives. This begins with choosing a depth philosophy that fits your circumstances and personality. He outlines 4 approaches to scheduling deep work. The monastic philosophy involves eliminating or radically minimizing shallow obligations to maximize deep work time. This approach works best for people whose professional success depends on doing one thing exceptionally well. Newport cites the example of Neal Stephenson, a renowned science fiction author who has no social media presence and doesn't even provide an email address on his website. By minimizing accessibility, Stephenson protects his ability to write complex novels that require sustained, deep thinking. The bimodal philosophy involves dividing your time into clearly defined deep work periods and more conventional open periods. During deep work blocks, which might last several days or even weeks, you operate much like a monastic deep worker, eliminating distractions and focusing solely on your most important work. During open periods, you're more accessible and attend to shallow obligations. This approach works well for people who need periods of deep concentration, but can't completely eliminate shallow responsibilities. The rhythmic philosophy involves establishing a regular deep work habit by scheduling blocks of deep work at the same time each day. This might mean working deeply from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. before opening your email, or blocking off Tuesday and Thursday afternoons for focused work. The power of this approach is that it transforms deep work from an occasional activity that requires willpower into a regular habit that becomes easier to maintain over time. The journalistic philosophy involves fitting deep work wherever you can into your schedule. Just as journalists learn to shift quickly into writing mode when a story breaks, practitioners of this approach learn to maximize the deep work they can fit around other obligations. This is the most flexible approach, but also the most challenging, as it requires the ability to switch rapidly into a state of deep concentration. No single philosophy is universally better than the others. The best approach depends on your specific circumstances, the nature of your work, and your personal preferences. What matters is making a conscious choice about how to integrate deep work into your life rather than letting distraction become your default mode. Beyond choosing a philosophy, Newport outlines several practical strategies for implementing deep work successfully. He emphasizes the importance of ritualization, creating specific conditions that signal to your brain it's time for focused work. This might involve having a designated location, time limit, rules about internet use, or support structures like coffee or specific music that help ease the transition into deep concentration. He also stresses the value of grand gestures that dramatically change your environment to support deep work. By making a significant investment, whether of money, time, or social capital, you increase your commitment to the subsequent deep work. This could mean booking a hotel room for a writing retreat, traveling to a different city to focus on a project, or even building a separate work studio as some writers and artists have done. Another key practice is giving your brain the downtime it needs. Newport argues against the cult of busyness and emphasizes that periods of relaxation are essential for deep work, not opposed to it. When you constantly switch tasks and fill every moment with input, you exhaust the same mental resources needed for deep concentration. By contrast, deliberate periods of mental rest, whether through meditation, walks in nature, or simply putting aside work entirely during evenings and weekends, rejuvenate your capacity for the intense focus deep work requires. The book also addresses one of the most significant challenges to deep work in the modern workplace: the expectation of constant connectivity. Newport offers strategies for reducing the hold of tools like email and social media, including techniques for batching communication into designated times, setting expectations with colleagues about response times, and even eliminating certain shallow uses of technology altogether. This leads to one of Newport's most controversial arguments, that social media and similar technologies should be evaluated based on their net contribution to your most important goals, not on their minor conveniences or the vague fear of missing out. He suggests applying what he calls the craftsman approach to tool selection, deliberately choosing technologies based on their positive impact on things that matter to you while accepting the absence of those that don't serve your core values, even if they provide some small benefit. Beyond these practical strategies, Newport emphasizes the importance of training your ability to concentrate, just as you would train a physical muscle. He suggests practices like memorization exercises, productive meditation, focusing on a single professional problem while doing something physical like walking, and deliberately embracing boredom rather than reaching for your phone the moment tedium arises. These activities strengthen your general ability to resist distraction and maintain focus for extended periods. The book also explores how to make deep work the default in organizational settings, not just for individuals. Newport provides examples of companies that have experimented with reduced email usage, established no meeting days, or even eliminated email entirely in favor of more thoughtful communication processes. These case studies demonstrate that creating a culture of depth isn't just possible. It can provide significant competitive advantages in terms of quality, creativity, and employee satisfaction. One particularly valuable insight from Newport's work is the idea that deep work isn't just about productivity. It's about craftsmanship and quality. In a world where many professionals are measured by how quickly they clear their inbox or how many tasks they can juggle simultaneously, deep work offers a different metric: the intrinsic value of what you produce. The deep worker isn't just efficient. They create work of lasting significance that couldn't be easily replicated. Consider the difference between two hypothetical knowledge workers. The first is constantly connected, responsive to emails within minutes, active on multiple social platforms, and attending a steady stream of meetings. They appear productive because they're always busy. The second might be less immediately accessible but produces research papers, software designs, or strategies of exceptional quality. Over time, the second worker creates far more actual value despite appearing less busy in the moment-to-moment rush of daily work. This distinction highlights another important aspect of Newport's philosophy: the need to be ruthless in identifying and focusing on what he calls your high-value activities. These are the professional activities that utilize your unique skills to create new value, the things that justify your position and salary. For an academic, this might mean writing influential papers rather than serving on university committees. For a marketing professional, it might mean creating innovative campaigns rather than maintaining an overflowing email inbox. By clearly identifying these high-value activities and ruthlessly prioritizing deep work on them, you not only become more valuable professionally, but also experience greater satisfaction. Research in psychology consistently shows that people experience their most positive states when engaged in challenging activities that stretch their abilities, what psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi calls flow. Deep work facilitates these flow experiences, making it not just more productive but more inherently rewarding than shallow alternatives. Newport's approach also addresses the fundamental question of how we measure our working lives. Rather than tracking hours spent or tasks completed, he suggests focusing on depth-oriented metrics. How many hours of deep work did you complete? What significant projects did you advance? What new skills did you develop? These metrics better reflect meaningful professional progress than conventional measures like emails processed or meetings attended. The concept of deep work has profound implications for career development as well. In an economy increasingly dominated by automation and globalization, the ability to quickly master hard things and produce at an elite level becomes increasingly valuable. Both these abilities depend on deep work. By cultivating this skill, you position yourself to thrive professionally even as technology continues to transform the workplace. This is especially true for knowledge workers whose primary value comes from their ability to learn and apply complex information. As basic tasks become increasingly automated, the premium for skilled workers who can navigate complexity, synthesize diverse ideas, and create innovative solutions only increases. Deep work is the pathway to developing these increasingly valuable skills. Newport also addresses common objections to the deep work philosophy. Some might argue that certain roles inherently require constant accessibility, making deep work impossible. To this, he responds that even in highly collaborative or responsive positions, there are opportunities to carve out some dedicated deep work time. Even a few hours of undistracted focus per week can yield significant benefits compared to a completely fragmented schedule. Others might point to successful figures who seem perpetually connected and still achieve great things. Newport acknowledges these exceptions, but argues they succeed despite their distracted habits, not because of them. Their exceptional abilities in other areas allow them to overcome the disadvantages of constant connectivity, but they would likely be even more effective if they incorporated deep work practices. Some organizations worry that reducing communication like email or meetings will hamper collaboration. Newport counters that too much communication can actually reduce effectiveness by creating noise that drowns out important signals. More thoughtful, structured communication, even if less frequent, often leads to better collaboration than the constant back and forth of emails and chat messages. One of the most powerful aspects of Newport's argument is that it isn't just about individual productivity, but about living a good life more broadly. The deep life, characterized by meaningful engagement with challenging activities and freedom from trivial distractions, offers a more satisfying alternative to the fragmented existence many knowledge workers currently experience. This connects deep work to philosophical traditions that have long valued focused engagement with meaningful pursuits. From Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia, flourishing through excellence, to the Stoic emphasis on directing attention toward what we can control, many wisdom traditions have recognized that how we direct our attention largely determines the quality of our lives. Deep work provides a practical framework for directing attention toward what matters most. The book also explores the neurological basis for deep work's effectiveness. When you constantly switch between tasks, checking email, then working on a report, then responding to a message, then back to the report, you incur what psychologists call attention residue. Part of your mental resources remain stuck on the previous task, reducing your effectiveness on the current one. By contrast, extended periods of uninterrupted focus allow you to fully engage your mental resources on a single important task. Understanding these cognitive principles helps explain why deep work produces such superior results. It's not just about having more time, though uninterrupted blocks are important. It's about how your brain functions differently when allowed to focus completely versus when constantly switching contexts. The deep worker isn't just allocating time differently. They're experiencing a qualitatively different mental state that enables higher quality thinking. Newport concludes the book with a challenge: to embrace depth as a countercultural choice in an increasingly shallow world. Rather than accepting constant distraction as inevitable, we can deliberately construct lives and work routines that prioritize what matters most. This isn't easy in a culture that often celebrates busyness and immediate responsiveness, but the rewards, both professional and personal, make it worthwhile. The deep work philosophy isn't about working more hours or burning yourself out pursuing productivity at all costs. In fact, Newport advocates for strict boundaries between work and personal time, arguing that regular periods of complete disconnection from professional concerns are essential for sustaining the capacity for deep work. The goal isn't constant work, but rather ensuring that the time you do spend working is as meaningful and effective as possible. One particularly valuable aspect of Newport's approach is its flexibility. Unlike rigid productivity systems that prescribe exact schedules or techniques, deep work can be adapted to different personalities and circumstances. Whether you're an academic with significant control over your schedule, a corporate employee juggling multiple responsibilities, a freelancer balancing various projects, or an entrepreneur building a business, the core principles of deep work can be adapted to your specific situation. The key is making a deliberate decision about how depth will fit into your professional life, rather than passively accepting the shallow defaults that increasingly characterize modern work. By making this conscious choice and implementing appropriate strategies, you position yourself to do your best work consistently. In the years since Deep Work was published, its message has only become more relevant. As remote and hybrid work arrangements have become more common, many professionals have gained more control over their work environments, but also face new challenges in maintaining focus amid home distractions and the blurring of work-life boundaries. The principles Newport outlines provide valuable guidance for creating effective work routines in these new circumstances. Similarly, as artificial intelligence continues to automate routine cognitive tasks, the premium for humans who can think deeply, creatively, and critically only increases. The parts of knowledge work most vulnerable to automation tend to be the more routine, shallow aspects, making deep work capabilities even more essential for long-term career success. For those concerned about the broader societal implications of our increasingly distracted culture, deep work also offers a meaningful response. Rather than simply lamenting shortened attention spans or the rise of superficial engagement, Newport provides a practical philosophy for reclaiming our cognitive capabilities and directing them toward what matters most. This isn't just personally beneficial, but could collectively lead to more thoughtful discourse and more meaningful cultural production if widely adopted. Perhaps most importantly, deep work offers an alternative to the sense of scattered busyness that characterizes many modern professional lives. Instead of ending each day exhausted from constant context switching, but unclear on what you've actually accomplished, deep work enables the satisfaction of making meaningful progress on important projects. This creates not just better outcomes, but a more fulfilling experience of work itself. The philosophy of deep work reconnects professional activity with craftsmanship traditions that emphasize quality, mastery, and the inherent value of doing things well. In a world that often prioritizes speed and quantity over depth and quality, this represents a significant shift in how we conceptualize and experience our working lives. For those looking to incorporate more deep work into their lives, Newport's advice can be distilled to a few key principles. Be intentional about when and how you'll engage in deep work. Create the conditions that support sustained concentration. Be ruthless about eliminating or minimizing distractions. Give your brain the rest it needs. And measure your success by the depth and quality of your work rather than shallow metrics. This doesn't mean completely eliminating all shallow work. Emails still need to be answered, administrative tasks completed, and certain collaborative activities maintained. The goal isn't purity, but rather a more intentional balance that prioritizes deep work for your most important professional activities, while keeping shallow work in a supporting role rather than allowing it to dominate your schedule. By making this shift, you position yourself not just for greater professional success, but for a more meaningful engagement with your work. The capacity for sustained, focused attention on challenging problems isn't just economically valuable. It's a uniquely human capability that connects us to some of our highest potential for creativity, insight, and excellence. In a world that increasingly pulls us toward distraction and fragmented attention, deliberately cultivating the ability to work deeply represents a powerful choice, not just for productivity, but for how we experience our professional lives and the value we create through our work. By making this countercultural choice, We reclaim our cognitive capabilities from the various technologies and organizational practices that would scatter our attention across increasingly trivial matters. The deep life isn't necessarily easier. Focused concentration on challenging problems can be mentally taxing, but it offers rewards that fragmented, shallow work cannot. These include not just external success, but the internal satisfaction that comes from fully engaging your capabilities in service of meaningful work. As Newport puts it, a deep life is a good life. If you found value in these insights from Cal Newport's deep work, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth book summaries. Your engagement helps us continue creating high-quality content that distills wisdom from the world's most transformative books. Also, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you implemented any deep work practices in your own life? What challenges have you faced in finding focus in our distracted world? We'd love to hear about your experiences with these concepts.